and professional experts about the stories that impact you. You're watching the Megacast on Civic Center TV.
There are many different kinds of noses. Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things. Good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
I'm Steve Eiserman of the Detroit Red Wings, and I think every child in Michigan deserves a safe, healthy, and happy childhood. Can we build a state where Children Trust Michigan isn't just a name, but something our kids believe? Please support Children Trust Michigan as the voice for children and families by visiting the website to learn more.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Oakland County and the state of Michigan. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. You can always find us all across our network on civiccentertv.com/Megacast, our flagship, of course, Civic Center TV in the greater West Bloomfield area. But you can also find us on community television and radio stations all across Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan for free on My Michigan TV, our co-flagship. All those stations linked along with their original programming on our website on civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Let's begin as we always do on our local news page with the top stories making headlines across Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan today. Our top story comes from Bill Leitner at the Detroit Free Press today, as an inter-county partnership is taking creeps off of our streets. This week at the Oakland County offices, Sheriff Michael Bouchard honored one of his colleagues in recognition of National Police Week. In addition to deputies who have gone above and beyond what is called of them in their line of work, Sheriff Bouchard reached out to one of Mid-Michigan's finest, Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson, whose cutting-edge undercover program has for years helped nab child predators online in Genesee County. When Sheriff Bouchard called Sheriff Swanson asking for his department's help in training deputies right here in Oakland County to do some of the same work to protect our kids, Sheriff Swanson went all out, providing Oakland County with all the training that it needed from what's known as Genesee's Ghost Team, a group of deputies who go undercover on the web searching for local predators who are out looking to maybe harm or influence your kids. They do it the right way, learning the trends, talking to these creeps online, luring them in, but doing it by the book so that when these quacks step out of line, their next step is into a holding cell in county jail. Said Sheriff Bouchard on the Ghost Team's training efforts, quote, "We've adopted some of their techniques. We've wanted to learn all the details on where these predators hang out in cyberspace and how we can deal with them without crossing any legal boundaries," and closed quote. That's the important part here. That's the big factor in this, is how do they interact with these people online who are committing these heinous crimes, these horrible acts, well beyond the law and beyond morality on the internet. How do they interact with these people? How do they lure them in, for lack of better terms, to ultimately bring them to justice without crossing legal boundaries that could not only jeopardize the case against this individual, against these individuals, but ultimately allow them to continue to do what they're doing online and harm our kids here in Oakland County or in Genesee County or any other place in Michigan, around the U.S., or around the world. You got to bring them in by the book so that when it comes to their trial, there's nothing but evidence that is proving that they are guilty. Again, everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And if you don't have that information, if you're not obtaining the information that proves that this individual or these individuals are guilty, and you aren't obtaining that information in a way that is legal, that could jeopardize those cases. So this is what's really important about this partnership, is teaching Oakland County's deputies how they and Genesee County have been able to interact with these creeps on the web, ultimately bringing them to justice and leading them in to what ultimately isn't a form of entrapment, but is still them ultimately breaking the law and giving these law enforcement departments cause to bring them in, to arrest them, to bring them to justice, and in many cases leads to these convictions. On Wednesday in the County Commission's auditorium, Sheriff Bouchard reached out to thank Sheriff Swanson for his team lending a helping hand, protecting children far beyond where they have sworn to serve and protect in Genesee County, deserving of a salute from both our local sheriff and a salute from all of us here in Oakland County, keeping our children safe online and out in our communities every single day through efforts like this. Additionally, making headlines on our local news page today from CBS News, Detroit's Ibrahim Samra, really heartwarming story, a lovely story from the city of Detroit, where one woman helps Tigers fans cross the street safely on their way to Comerica Park and ended up getting help coming her way in a glorious fashion recently. It all happened as TikTok influencer Zachary Daranowski, or MD Motivator, who asked the traffic officer, Lenita Edge, if she was interested in purchasing a shirt for $1. She politely declined, sticking to doing her job and helping people safely cross the street and make their way to the ballpark to see their favorite team play ball. Instead, Daranowski, instead of moving on to the next person and asking them if they'd like to purchase the shirt for $1, Daranowski asked her if she would like to see her local team play ball. She stayed with her there, kept the conversation going, ultimately asked her if she wanted to go to the ball game itself. Ultimately, that would mean leaving behind her position of helping those cross the street as a traffic officer and abandoning her shift for the day, or leaving her shift early and maybe sacrificing those wages. That's what she was worried about in accepting this offer. So she worried that she wouldn't be able to collect her full paycheck if she were to have left her shift early to go see her favorite team play, and if she accepted the friendly invite. Then Daranowski sweetened the deal, giving her $500 to cover the lost wages from leaving her shift early. So she not only got to go see her favorite baseball team play ball right across the street from where she works at Comerica Park, but also received $500 for joining in on this TikTok from Zachary Daranowski, or MD Motivator. And her fortune for the good deeds was not done at that moment. The video, which went viral on TikTok, also included Edge assisting others crossing the street with her signature grace and kindness, and became a big hit. It was so influential that as she watched the game with MD Motivator, the Tigers PA announcer Chris Butzloff surprised her with the next amazing news of her day, saying, quote, "The people of Detroit have watched the video and have donated an additional $50,000 to you," and closed quote. The video has only become more of a hit over time since it was originally posted, since that first day at the ballpark, and then again this week as Daranowski and Edge were reunited for another ball game, and of course that special announcement of an additional $50,000 crowdsourced in donations from those who have seen and were inspired by this TikTok post. The video has become more of a hit than ever. 9 million views and counting at this time on TikTok. Now Edge, who is back on the job after her big payday, says the love has only grown from those in the D. A man passed her on the street before another recent game and said, "Congratulations, well deserved. You know where it came from. He heard you." Edge simply responded, quote, "Yeah, he did. Don't make me cry out here," and helped him politely cross the street as he headed toward Comerica Park. Really great story. Highly encourage you to click through and read that in its entirety. Watch the video. They did a great report from out in the field on this wonderful story out of the city of Detroit. That's linked on our website, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page. Plenty of more making headlines there as well. We'll get back to that in a little bit, but we'll take a quick break. On the other side, we'll have our weekly mental health discussion with Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Hello, nose. My nose knows is when somebody uses the bathroom. Mom, Polly didn't flush. Ooh, I smell cookies.
I smell an A+. How could my nose be running when it stays on my face?
Our noses know if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick.
The virus will die.
It will be easy to not catch it.
Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer.
Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine.
To keep safe and strong.
Be like happy, having fun everywhere.
Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
There are many different kinds of noses. Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things. Good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Oakland County and the state of Michigan. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. You can always find us on our website on civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where you'll find links to all of our partnering stations that include original programming in your communities right here in Oakland County in the 23 hours of the day that they're not joining us live or live to tape Monday through Friday on the Megacast. You'll also find all of our full shows and each individual segment, every conversation we have with every expert all across the state of Michigan, archived on demand. You can watch it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on civiccentertv.com/Megacast, or just go to our on-demand page to find all of our other original programming, including other local news and information from the greater West Bloomfield area on the Splash Live that precedes us Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., as well as other original programs, live events, municipal meetings, and more. Plenty to learn about your community and our communities here in Oakland County on civiccentertv.com. Joining us now on the program is therapist Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic, joining us as always for our weekly mental health segment on today's edition of the Megacast. Carrie, thanks for being with us again.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on as we are recognizing May as Mental Health Awareness Month. And this week, something we want to focus on is exploring the ways that trauma can influence somebody, both from that moment or those moments that onset the trauma, but also the ways that it can recur and continue to have an effect on people in the days, the weeks, the months, the years, the decades beyond that. And there's so much to unpack when it comes to trauma. So let's begin exploring it with just the basics about how trauma affects both the mind and the body in various ways.
Sure. So like you said, in the event of trauma, which nearly all of us will experience some form of traumatic event in our lifetime, in the moment, it activates our sympathetic nervous system, which is what we call our fight or flight response. So initially upon being startled or traumatized in some way, you'll experience increased heart rate, confusion, agitation, irritation, irritability. You will have muscle tension and maybe shortness of breath or chest tightness. So all of those things you may encounter. A traumatic event can be a single event, or it can be a long sustained trauma. So the thing is too, is like an animal may experience a traumatic event and you quite literally see an animal shake it off. And many of us might even shake off things that happen to us often. What happens during trauma is that our brain can remain forever changed. And for some people, it may stay in that heightened state and not really be able to sort of shake it off and move forward, which is when you see post-traumatic stress. Someone may keep recurring those traumatic responses to a broad range of experiences in their lifetime. As a result of the changes of a brain, we also get changes to our stress hormones, which impact our body, which impact our digestion, and other areas of our body.
And it manifests in so many different ways, because in some ways, in many ways, the body is and the mind are wired to be able to address these issues, to kind of, as you say, shake them off. But in many other ways, too, the body is wired to want to address these issues and to have a need to clear some of these traumas or address some of these traumas and cope with them in more significant ways. So let's discuss that dynamic, because that can have a number of different influences on how someone responds to trauma and ultimately that impact that the trauma can have on them.
Sure. So you're absolutely right. We are animals, we are mammals. So there's a part of our brain, right? We call like our reptilian brain part that's responsible, right, for these fight or flight responses. If that was just who we were, if that was as simple as form of who we were, we would probably be able to shake it off just like an animal. But because we have these more complex thinking systems, you're absolutely right. Our brain, our part of our survival requires us to probably suppress our trauma and move on. But because we're more complex beings, it stays right in our mind and our memory and impacts us different ways. And the research really supports the forms of therapy such as EMDR, different forms of meditation, connecting breathing, and mindfulness techniques to really help us regulate what has been dysregulated by our brain by the act of trauma. So something like EMDR helps a person both be able to talk and understand their feelings, understand their trauma, understand their memories, while also helping them manage and calm and cope with the upsetting things that are happening in their brain and body. And so there are other techniques that help kind of foster that same experience, so that people can make connections, have those kind of therapeutic aha moments while strengthening their brain's ability to regulate after something that's dysregulated them.
And especially, Carrie, as we think about addressing a variety of different mental health issues, we think about, especially in recent years, where that stigma has sort of been reduced, sort of has compressed, and isn't so overbearing on our society, that people are talking about the mental health issues. And in particular, when I'm thinking about some of the ways that we have in the past, or as we've talked about and discussed already, the brain's natural ability to suppress some of those traumas. I think a lot about the stigma that's particularly been on men in the past about addressing their mental health issues, which can include these traumas that really it's just been supposed to, rub some dirt on it, move on, take a breath, take a walk, and deal with it. That can have a significant influence on someone if they don't address these issues, especially if they leave them latent and continue to brush them off for a number of years. So just how important is it to get in on these sorts of treatments or addressing trauma at an early stage, but also factoring in that people are processing trauma in different ways, and you never want to force somebody into those sorts of conversations that can really, in many ways, be triggering too.
Sure. I think, you're absolutely right. So the sort of prolonged ignoring or denying of certain emotional experiences can contribute to sort of other behaviors or other mental health issues. If you're having sort of increased anger or agitation, might cause some relational problems. If you have feelings and you don't like them and you're working to suppress them, it might include addiction or substance use, things like that. So sometimes people enter into treatment after they've already tried these other maladaptive ways to sort of make those feelings, make those experiences, make those memories go away. And so, right, addressing it early and often can prevent the need for some of those other issues to arise, to recognize the potential. Certainly, the best treatments sort of offer like a conjunction of treatments. Maybe some medication might help to soothe the anxiety and depression that's happening initially, but perhaps also talk therapy, like said, to understand, to have those aha moments, to kind of like sort of release and free them from your memory instead of having to sort of think about them all the time. These treatments like EMDR that help the brain regulate and calm while also talking about difficult or stressful things. All of those things, right, can help prevent worse problems from coming down the road.
So then, as a mental health professional, how do you and others address these traumas when you do have a patient, or you have patients that are coming to you to address this? Because on the one hand, like we said, you want to be sensitive to the effect that this trauma's had on them, but also to really dive into these issues and address them head on, you do have to kind of, reopen that door that the body has been trying to hold shut for all those years. So as a professional, how do you address that?
So I think a therapist is going to, again, educate their clients. So of course, offer them some information that what we're doing will be difficult. Also each session, educating about sort of the shape or form of a session is going to have a beginning, middle, and end. And we're going to be sure before we leave or finish that we kind of tie things off. So, and even educating for the potential, it may come up now in the days between our next appointment and what to expect or how to behave or how to respond in the event that it does. So right, offering that just sort of education about what's typical, certainly monitoring the feedback you're getting. Sometimes you may not realize what is or isn't connected to a trauma. And as you're talking about something, you may notice the eye movement change, you may notice the body posture change, tearfulness, something about them. And then that's an opportunity as a therapist to kind of touch base. Shall we go further down this path, or shall we retreat? Certainly writing in between sessions, writing is a skill to be able to give a space and a place to something that might be coming up for you, but then also to be able to sort of shut it and move on with your life in the time in between sessions.
You can get in contact with Carrie, Krawiec, and the professionals at the Birmingham Maple Clinic by visiting their website at birminghammaple.com. That is birminghammaple.com for more information. And whether it is those weekly or multiple times weekly sessions that you may have with a therapist or another mental health professional, or other forms of therapy and release, those can really have a big impact over time. The more that you are immersing in sort of these different coping mechanisms to not necessarily escape the trauma, but to maybe lessen the severity of the recurring instances of trauma that affect all of us in some ways, some very severely and some in just minute ways on a day-to-day basis. So what are some other things that people can be doing in addition to therapy or in addition to regular sessions with a mental health professional to help address some of these traumas in their life?
Certainly yoga is an amazing thing, especially yoga practitioners who are familiar with trauma. Yoga can help combine the breathing and mindfulness techniques along with muscle relaxation and stretching and strengthening that help offer people, again, ability to sort of like rewire where trauma had disrupted the brain's wiring. Yoga can help be beneficial to help make those connections again and help a person feel control, but also give the skills to how to like sort of free or empty the mind from those recurring thoughts. There are some other neat techniques. One is called neurofeedback, but it's some like basically like some scalp sensors connected to a screen that help people look at their own brain waves and then do some therapeutic kind of video gamey type exercises that help them teach and modify their own brains wave to help get that kind of control. Certainly writing, talk therapy, and even group therapy and engaging with other people with similar stories, just feeling connected. Telling your story to other people has a positive effect for the teller and also the receiver, especially when it comes to resilience. So when a person knows that they themselves have overcome something because also others that care about them have overcome things, that sort of sense of pride and accomplishment can help be really help foster resilience.
And when it comes to these results, so many people that have experienced trauma, and especially those who have left it latent and maybe not have addressed it for a number of years or even decades, they may look at a conversation like this, they may hear a conversation like we're having now and say, well, and at this point, how is it even going to be helpful to me? So from a professional standpoint, as you see these results, and you have seen these results and your colleagues have over the course of years, just how much of a difference does it make from somebody pre-treatment or pre-mental health consultation to during or after to be addressing these traumas in these ways, whether it is therapy with a professional or other forms of therapy like exercise or yoga or something like that?
Sure. Like I said, I mean, and we've talked about this before, of course, things happen, mental health issues happen in families, and sometimes you may not know the precursors. Having some insider information about your own and even being able to share that information. If when you go to a doctor, you want to be able to share, yes, we have a family history of cardiac events, or we have a family history of this, but it can be actually a huge important piece of information for the generations that come after you to know, hey, there was this trauma and this is the response to it. And these were the results we got, right? That information can inform the coming generations for what will work for them, for what to be aware of or prepared for if something happens. And right, so it can be even just talking about it, and like I said, talking about it in families can be so restorative and therapeutic for other generations. Say, hey, I had no idea, to gain some insider awareness of things that their parents or other people had experienced that may have shaped their parenting, shaped their relationships, shaped their mental health, and can just offer some insight and compassion and grace for why things are the way they are.
And outside of discussing these traumas with a professional, discussing them with people in your life that you do trust, that you do know that may have been alongside you during those times that you had faced those traumas can also play an important role. So from that other person's standpoint, what would you suggest as a professional for them to help bring this other person along that they have in their life, that they care about, that they know may have experienced a trauma or a set of traumas, to help discuss that with them as well and provide that support system without either being overbearing or, God forbid, triggering in their help?
Sure. I mean, I think, again, just like offering some education, it's coming from a desire to be close. It's coming from a desire to understand, and it's that it's coming from, like a genuine need. It's intimacy and vulnerability go hand in hand, right? And that take a risk to reveal something personal about your life that you may have encountered, especially something traumatic or scary in some form of way. But that when we do that, then the other person responds either with sharing something also about themselves or their life, or by just being, kind and available and responsive, and that relationships grow in that way, right? That now we don't always have to just be reliving vulnerable moments, right? But that back and forth is really one of the ways that intimacy is fostered, especially in our, our romantic relationships, but really in any form.
You can find more information, get in contact with Carrie and the team at the Birmingham Maple Clinic by calling 248-646-6659, 248-646-6659, or visiting them on birminghammaple.com. Carrie, before we let you go, anything else we haven't discussed yet, or other things that people should be keeping in mind when it comes to considering the traumas that they've experienced, addressing the traumas they've experienced, or helping others address the traumas in their life?
Sure. I mean, I think one thing, even hearing you say the word trauma, right, is that there's such a range of things that people would experience. Like I said, some could be one isolated instance, something could be something more sustained or prolonged. It could be in the present or the past. Like to not sort of police each other or compare with each other about whose trauma is more trauma-y, right? That it's totally unique to each person. And same with the after effects. Some people may shake off something that seems exceptionally like, how could they ever get through this? But then be very reactive to something smaller. And it's like, there's no real rhyme or reason why certain traumas impact us differently than others, or different people differently than others. But to just be patient and kind if you're experiencing the results of trauma. It doesn't matter if it was a big one or not.
Yeah, trauma is trauma. It affects people in a number of different ways. Even what is considered to be the slightest, so to speak, trauma can have a massive effect on someone for a number of years and shape both their lives and the lives of those involved in their family or in their social circles as well. Carrie, thank you so much for your insight and talking to us about this issue today.
Thank you, as always, for having me.
You can find Carrie and the other professionals from the Birmingham Maple Clinic on birminghammaple.com. 248-646-6659 is their telephone number. And of course, you can always join Carrie on the Megacast every Thursday morning for our mental health segment each and every week. We'll take a break on the Megacast. On the other side, plenty of more making news across Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan. We'll explore more of our stories making news today on our local news page on civiccentertv.com. After this break, stay tuned. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you.
I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4.
I'm Steve Eiserman of the Detroit Red Wings, and I think every child in Michigan deserves a safe, healthy, and happy childhood. Can we build a state where children trust Michigan isn't just a name, but something our kids believe? Please support Children Trust Michigan as the voice for children and families by visiting the website to learn more.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Oakland County and the state of Michigan. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. You can always find us online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on civiccentertv.com/megacast. There you'll find more information on our program, learn about what we do each and every day. Find where you can find us in your local area on community television stations and radio stations all throughout Oakland County, all across the state for free on My Michigan TV, our co-flagship, as well as on their free apps for your smartphones and your smart TVs by searching My Michigan TV on your app store of choice. And of course, find all these websites linked on our civiccentertv.com Megacast page. civiccentertv.com/megacast. That's also the place to go. If you're not able to join us every day live from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for our daily live programs, you can always find us on demand and watch us on your time, whether it's our full hour-long episodes or just individual segments with different conversations with guests we have on every week, like Carrie Krawiec or Michael Greiner from Oakland University, who will join us on Friday's edition of the show, or the Ann Arbor Art Fair, who will be with us every Monday all the way through their show in July. You'll always be able to find these segments on demand. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Another great place to go on our website for more news and information around Oakland County and across the state is our local news page on civiccentertv.com, where we've already gone over some of our top stories making headlines today in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. We'll continue on our local news page now with a couple more stories making news today. If you are getting ready to prepare your garden, or after the frost, so to speak, from last night, hopefully not too many of you had frost. If you've already done some plantings, if you haven't done any plantings, you're in luck. At least you haven't lost any of them from this inclement weather last night, getting very cool. A frost warning that went through this morning, but some good news for plant lovers, whether you've lost plants in your garden that you've already put out there because of the warm weather we've had lately and the cold weather overnight and into the early parts of this morning. You're in luck. MSU and Oakland County are partnering to help you improve your garden and local wildlife with a native plant giveaway. This is the second annual plant giveaway and will feature over 600 plants placed into 4 different types of kits, all based on the most optimal growth conditions for each group of these plantings. So whether you are planting in an area that gets a lot of sun and it's getting that direct sunlight all day long, or varying forms of sunlight, there are so many different conditions that these kits are being prepared for that may apply to your home garden or community garden that you are helping to manage or plots at community gardens that are entirely yours. If you're looking to plant some of these plants or even just put them in your home and there's varying conditions that they may be in, you'll be able to find the perfect one of these groups of plantings, perfect kit for your home environment. All the kits feature 4 species of plants and 16 plants in total. So presumably about 4 of each kind of plants and then 4 different kinds of plants in each one of these kits. All of them come with labels and specific instructions for planting. So you'll make sure that these plants are going to be put in the best position possible, and you'll have all the tools you'll need in terms of information to help these plants thrive. There is a very slight catch, however, that comes along with these free plants. If you register for the free kits, you'll have to agree to commit to maintaining the plants, reducing or eliminating the use of pesticides to protect your plants or protect your garden, and promote using natural plantings, among other deals that come along with getting these free kits from Oakland County and Michigan State University. You can pick up your free plant kits at Lion Oaks County Park from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. this week. So not this week, but next week, a couple weeks from now on Friday, June 2nd. Friday, June 2nd, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Lion Oaks County Park, or Saturday, June 3rd from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Evanswood Church, located in Troy. The link to register for these free plant kits can be found at the bottom of this article. Click through to get more information, and the link to register for these free plantings on our local news page on civiccentertv.com. Another great place to go in the greater West Bloomfield area is wbparks.org/events. Their native plant sale, the pre-orders for that native plant sale to pick up coming very soon. I believe it's this weekend that pickup will be on Saturday or Sunday. But the pre-order window ends this afternoon at 5 o'clock today. You will no longer be able to pre-order these plants. They may already be almost out by the time that you're watching this show. If you're watching us, especially on demand or live to tape in other parts of Oakland County, and you want to get some native plants and support the programs at West Bloomfield Parks, you can do that through their native plant sale. wbparks.org/events. Scroll down to the 20th, click on their native plant sale, and there'll be a link there for you to go through. Plants for Ecology that is running this native plant sale. A portion of the proceeds from the sales will go to support programs in the Nature Room at the Recreation Activity Center in West Bloomfield that provides education on the environment and ecology and other forms of the sciences right in the heart of West Bloomfield Township. Again, wbparks.org for more information. The pre-orders for that sale began on Sunday and they end today, so it's your last chance. If you're not able to go for those, Oakland County and MSU, their second annual native plant sale giveaway is going on very soon, and you can register for those free plantings. Again, that link is at the bottom of this article from our friends at the Oakland Press. civiccentertv.com. Just click on our local news page to find all of that. Finally, making headlines on our local news page today from Edward Pivos at MLive. The Friends Experience will soon be asking Metro Detroit, how you doing, at the Great Lakes Crossing in Auburn Hills. The experience, an interactive recreation of the mise-en-scène of the legendary NBC sitcom Friends, will be coming to our local area beginning at the end of June. It begins on June 30th. The experience has toured the nation over the past several years. It began as part of the 25th anniversary celebration of the premiere of the iconic sitcom. The quote-unquote, the one near Detroit, as they're calling this iteration of the exhibit, will feature recreations of many different iconic areas of their set, mementos of the show, props that were actually used on set in episodes of Friends will be featured at this exhibit at Great Lakes Crossing. And tickets will go on sale 1 week from today. May 24th at 10 a.m. is when sales open. Actually, it's a week from yesterday. May 24th. 10 a.m. is when sales open on Detroit.friendstheexperience.com. Detroit.friendstheexperience.com is the place to go to purchase your tickets. Some of the iconic Friends locations you'll be able to visit at this exhibit at Great Lakes Crossing include the Central Perk Coffee Shop, the fountain from the show's intro, Rachel and Monica's Purple Apartment Door will also be part of this exhibit, a recreation of that, not the original. Joey and Chandler's recliners and the famous pivot stairway that you may remember from that Very funny scene with the character Ross Geller, played by David Schwimmer. That will also be part of this exhibit at Great Lakes Crossing. The show will begin on June 30th and it runs through late September, I believe September 24th, if I'm recalling correctly off the top of my head from this article. That's the span of which Friends the Experience will be at Great Lakes Crossing in Auburn Hills. Tickets begin at $27, not including tax. And group tours are also welcome for this exhibit. Groups of about 6 to 10 people are invited to sign up for a group tour together. I don't have a pricing point on that, but you can find more information on Friends the Experience coming to Great Lakes Crossing June through September by clicking through this article on our local news page on civiccentertv.com. All of those stories, both from this segment and our previous news segment earlier on in the show, can be found today on civiccentertv.com. Just click on our local news page. These will be the top 4 stories today on our local news page. We'll update this as we do each and every day with stories making news before our live shows, and these stories from all throughout the week. Whether you're just tuning in for the first time on this Thursday or you've been watching us all week long, either way, we appreciate you joining us for the program, and of course encourage you to go to our local news page to keep up to date on some of the top stories making news in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan on issues that are important to our local area and important to our state, and fun events like the Friends Experience coming to Great Lakes Crossing in June and all the way through September. CivicCenterTV.com is the place to go. Click on our local news page. In addition, at the top of that page, we have links to public health information from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. That includes info on COVID-19, on seasonal flu. Certainly, it's allergy season. That's going to be something that's top of mind for people. How do you address allergies? Whether it is to tree pollen or to grass pollen or other forms that may be causing some irritation. They'll have some helpful tips there, as well as warnings that are very localized here in Oakland County, statewide warnings from the MDHHS, and more advice and information on allergy season from the CDC can also be found through those links. In addition, that's where you'll find public health warnings throughout the summer. Of course, we get into this sort of a season, mosquitoes get back out there, more mosquito bites. You always hear about it in Michigan, about the West Nile virus. If that is to have an impact on the state of Michigan once again this summer, you'll certainly get some information on that from the MDHHS link, as well as the Oakland County Health Division link at the top of our local news page on civiccentertv.com. We'll take a break on the program. On the other side, of course, the weather is warming up. Suns last night and into this morning. People are getting back out and about, and that means travel and tourism is about to hit its peak here in the state of Michigan. We have the perfect person to discuss all the fun places that are open and back in business this summer. Dave Lorenz from Travel Michigan joins us next. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Like what you see? Beautiful works of art, masterworks of metal, and accomplishments of artistry will be on display near you. All kinds of artists from all walks of life come together to celebrate their skill and appreciate their work's beauty. Hot Works presents the 2023 Orchard Lake Fine Art Show. Stop by July 29th and 30th between 2 and 10 p.m. between Powers and Daly off of Orchard Lake Road.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important.
And now the same is true in the face of flu.
Influenza has the power to infect millions.
But it's easy to protect yourself, your family, and your community.
The flu vaccine is safe and effective. And with COVID-19 still around,
it's essential. Together we can face flu season head on.
Visit michigan.gov/flu.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Oakland County and the state of Michigan. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft, coming to you live from Western Oakland County. You can always find us online on civiccentertv.com/Megacast. That's the place to go to find links to every single one of our partnering stations here in Oakland County and our statewide partners, including our co-flagship at My Michigan TV. Links to those stations and their original programming in the other 23 hours of the day that they're not spending with us live and live to tape on the Megacast. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Also the place to go to find us on demand, whether you like to watch us in the full hour-long episode variety or segment by segment. It's all on demand. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now on the Megacast as we enter the peak of travel and tourism season in the state of Michigan is Dave Lorenz, the Vice President of Travel Michigan for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, or MEDC. Dave, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, good morning, Tyler. I don't know about you, but I'm dealing with allergies this week. It's been a really bad allergy season for people who deal with seasonal allergies. And these days, you never know. So I was actually checked out the other day, and they said, yeah, really bad year for people like me who have allergies, probably because of the kind of up and down temperatures. So let's just hope that those temperatures go up and stay up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, hopefully when they do go back to some sort of normality here in the coming days, it does stay at that point, especially as it's very clear. People are ready to get back out and about again this spring and summer season in the state of Michigan. The excitement is already there. I'm seeing more and more people out on the roads, out at local events, and there's so much excitement behind that, Dave, especially coming into this summer where unlike last summer and the summer before that, where things were still sort of kind of warming back up after the COVID-19 pandemic, they're back in full swing at this point, or at least it seems that way. Is that the case in the travel and tourism industry? Has it made that full comeback to that full operation we saw pre-pandemic?
Yeah, we're almost back. You know, you can look at the research and you can tell that almost everyone feels like the pandemic is gone, and it is. But as we all know, COVID's around like the flu and like so many other things like allergies. It'll be around with us now, just the way it is. But we've learned how to cope. We know we can travel safely. We can live a quote unquote regular life again. And that's really great to know. And it's really kind of helped to change the attitude of the traveler. Even as we deal with inflation and world turmoil issues, people are ready to get back out there in full force. We can see everybody going to Michigan.org like never before. And that is a great indicator that people are doing their research and they're getting ready to book their trips for the summer. And I do think that's a really good idea, though, that you do your research now. And then part of that is by going to Michigan.org and then make some bookings, even if you're not exactly sure about maybe the travel plans of your traveling partners out there, because I know a lot of people like me, we travel with friends in another household. So you always have to, get those schedules aligned, but get them booked right now. If you have to change it later on, just follow the policies of the hotels and such. And if you're far enough out, I'm sure you'll have no problem, but get it done now. It's going to be a really busy season.
Yeah, and it already has been just the events we've had early on in this spring and summer season. The later parts of the spring, things are really picking up. So as people are making those travel plans and they are preparing, you mentioned making those plans early, making those bookings as early as you can. Just what is the expectation? What are the numbers pointing to in terms of how big of a jump travel and tourism in Michigan is expected to make in the summer of 2023?
Yeah, we just got the 2021 overall numbers. I know it seems a little weird that it takes that long, but it takes a long time to gather up all that research. And we could even tell in 21 that people were getting back to their travel plans, at least to head up north in the summertime. So our small communities, especially the lakefront communities in the Upper Peninsula, almost entirely, really had a lot of travel in summer of 21. We know from talking to the industry that 22, the same thing happened, but people have only started to return to those kind of like traditional waterfront type communities in smaller communities, they haven't fully returned to the big cities yet. So we're still seeing kind of an unbalanced recovery. I bet we're going to see in 22 that the numbers came in even higher than in 2019 prior to the pandemic for those up north places, waterfront communities. But I'm really hoping this is the year that we also head back to Detroit and Grand Rapids and Lansing and Kalamazoo and Battle Creek and Saginaw and Flint and you name it, kind of our bigger communities as well, because they offer so much. And a lot of the things they offer aren't just in the traditional city environment. You got to have a lot of outdoor things to do. I was in Flint just last Friday, and it's like so many other places. They just kept on going with fixing up and bettering the community, even during the pandemic. In addition to that, I think there are 200 murals that you can go around downtown to look at. Don't forget, Genesee County is the biggest county park system in the state, and they have virtually every type of park you might want to use, from ORV trails to really cool parks that have a tree house in it, to the railroad, Crossroads Village and all that. So, there's so many cool things you can do in our cities or nearby our cities as well. And again, I really recommend you make your bookings now and then try to get out to places that are new to you. The whole Pure Michigan campaign this year is about keeping it fresh, kind of freshening up your attitudes and your perspectives and getting out there to discover new places and new people. And I think you're going to discover something about yourself too. We always do when we travel. I think we expect to see people who might look different than us or seem to be different than us in some way, live a different lifestyle than us. I think we expect them to truly be different. But what we always find is, we're all the same in the most essential and important ways. So it's just a really great idea to go to these places we haven't been to for a while, and really discover a lot about them and about yourself and about various communities. And as you do, know that you are supporting that community, you're supporting jobs, you're bringing in tax revenue so we can fix those darn roads, and it's a great way to work together.
It's something that has been heavily invested in by the state of Michigan and by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and so on, has been putting an effort into reclaiming the status of our state parks and rebuilding parts of our state parks that not necessarily have been neglected, but have been in need of some repairs in recent years and are finally getting that. We got the news this week that Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore, their 4-mile-long trail along the waterfront, that's going to reopen after a couple years of repairs this summer in early July. And so just how much of an effort has been made by the MEDC and the state of Michigan, by the governor's office, to invest in our parks and create even more of these opportunities to explore some really cool places, really cool landscapes that maybe aren't often explored by people that are looking for different places to go in Michigan.
Yeah, I'm on the executive board of the U.S. Travel Association, and I took part in the advocacy efforts at the federal level to try to get a lot more money for our national park assets around the country, because just as we found at our state parks, we have all these beautiful places around the country and around Michigan, but if you don't fund the upgrades and the updates and the repairs to them, they just start to pile on. And before you know it, it's even more expensive. So we were successful in getting more money for national parks. That's one of the reasons why you see that money being invested in great places like Pictured Rocks. And then at the statewide level, the governor was successful in gathering up some significant dollars, part of that federal funding mixed with state funding, to help really improve our state park assets as well. We have the best state park system in the country. Bold statement, I know, but it's true. And in fact, if you talk to other state park folks around the country, they all look to Michigan as the innovators in park services. If you look at what our parks are doing in the accessibility realm, I'm so very proud of all that they're doing to make nature available to even the disabled in a variety of ways. It's very impressive. So I expect you're going to see a lot of that work this year, and we should all be proud of that. And just realize that we can help that work as well by purchasing our annual passport when we get our driver's license. Doesn't cost much. I mean, it's about $12, whatever it is. I mean, it's nothing when you think about the many state park assets you can visit with that annual pass. and the good that those dollars do to keep those state parks really great.
Your trip begins at michigan.org. Plenty of information on different places to explore all across the state of Michigan, whether you're looking for a variety of attractions or activities or big cities to find, or those iconic places in our parks all across the state of Michigan, north, south, east, and west. Michigan.org is the place to go for that. Another great place to go to learn about a lot of these places, including, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, some of those cities that maybe don't get as much appreciation from those looking to travel in Michigan or to Michigan, is My Michigan TV, where you and Tom Daldin from Under the Radar Michigan just went all across the state, so many different places for Pure Michigan, a return to summer, the road trip. Tell us about that program and how many different places that you went and all the different information you learned, those resources available for free about all these different great places to travel this summer.
Yeah, we had a great week last week for National Travel and Tourism Week, and we decided that we really wanted to go around the state, get to as many places as we could to really emphasize the importance of travel and tourism, not only as an economic driver, but as a social integrator. You know, travel and tourism literally brings people together and figuratively as well. So we were we were at the Big House in Ann Arbor on Monday. On Tuesday, we were at the Krawiec Casino in Sault Ste. Marie. On Wednesday, a beautiful outdoor deck along the Pine River in Charlevoix. On Wednesday, we were downtown at their wonderful park, right next to where they keep the farmers market in South Haven. And let's see, maybe that was Thursday. I've lost track. And then Friday, we were in Flint, downtown Flint. And it was a spectacular week. I want to thank Dave and Jared from My Michigan TV for all the engineering. You could tell that the work they did there was pretty spectacular. And with these conversations, I know, are on your website on My Michigan TV. They're also on michigan.org/NTTW, National Travel and Tourism Week. What we found by doing these things during this week in previous years is that people may not look at the shows already that week, but they will look at them over the next few months. And like last year's, we only did one show from Mackinac Island last year, and I think it had, I don't know, a couple 100,000 views just from michigan.org. So, you know, it's on YouTube. It's on a variety of channels out there, including the UTR website as well. So it's an amazing thing that people can find streaming program on channels like this now, and then keep on going back with those recordings and see why they should visit their communities. And man, there's a lot of really cool things happening out there that I wasn't even aware of. And if I'm not aware of it, there aren't many people who know all those things that are out there either. So I'm hoping people will go and look at those shows here on My Michigan TV or michigan.org/NTTW.
Places in Michigan, whether you want to learn about Sault Ste. Marie, the city of Flint, or other places all across the state of Michigan. Dave Lorenz and Tom Daldin from Under the Radar Michigan, talking to so many different people in so many different sectors of travel and tourism in all these places all across the state of Michigan. Dave, thank you as always for joining us and previewing an exciting summer season ahead in Michigan.
Great to be with you, Tyler. As we always say, your trip begins at michigan.org. See you there.
Indeed. Michigan.org, the place to go for all the travel and tourism information you may need. And of course, as we mentioned, you can also find Pure Michigan, a return to summer, the road trip on either michigan.org or by going to our My Michigan TV link, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. Big thank you to Carrie, Krawiec, and Dave Lorenz for joining us on today's program. If you're just tuning in and you missed it, it's always on demand on civiccentertv.com/Megacast. In addition, huge thank you to our crew, Jared Clark at the studio of My Michigan TV, as well as our director at Master Control at Civic Center TV, Calvin Brown, as always, keeping us on the air and moving things forward. Till next time, I'm Tyler Kieft. Take care of each other, and we'll see you very soon.